In 1971, I was assigned to state conferences in Western Samoa, including organization of a new stake on Upolu Island. After interviews, we chartered a small plane to Savai'i Island to hold state conference there. The plane landed on a grassy field at Faala. It was to return the next afternoon to take us back to Upolu Island. The day we were to return from Savai'i, it was raining. Knowing the plane could not land on the wet field, we drove to the west end of the island where there was a runway of sorts atop a coral break. We waited until dark, but no plane arrived. Finally, we learned by radio that there was a storm and the plane could not take off. We radioed back that we would come by boat. Someone was to meet us at Mulifanua. As we pulled out of the port in Savai'i, the captain of the 40-foot boat asked the mission president if he had a flashlight. Fortunately, he did and made a present of it to the captain. We made the 13-mile crossing to Upolu Island on very rough seas. None of us realized that a ferocious tropical storm had hit the island, and we were heading straight into it. We arrived in the harbor at Mulifanua. There was a narrow passage we were to go through along the reef. A light on the hill above the beach and the second lower light marked the narrow passage. When the boat was maneuvered so that the two lights were one above the other, the boat would be lined up properly to pass through the dangerous rocks that lined the passage. But that night, there's only one light. The two elders were waiting on the landing to meet us, but the crossing took much longer than usual. After watching for hours for signs of a boat, the elders tired and fell asleep, neglecting to turn on the second light, the lower light. As a result of the passage through the reef was not clear. The captain maneuvered the boat as best he could toward the one upper light on the shore, while a crewman held the borrowed flashlight over the bow, searching for the rocks ahead. We could hear the breakers crashing. When we were close enough to see them, with the flashlight, the captain frantically shouted, "Reverse," and backed away to try again to locate the passage. After many attempts, he knew it would be impossible to find the passage. All we could do is reach the harbor at Apia, 40 miles away. We were helpless against the ferocious power of the elements. I do not remember ever being where it was so dark. We made no progress for the first hour, even though the engine was at full throttle. The boat would struggle up a mountainous wave and pause in exhaustion at the top of the crest with the propellers out of water. The vibration of the propellers would shake the boat almost to pieces before it slid down the other side. We were lying spread-eagled on the cover of the cargo hold, holding on with our hands on one side and with our toes locked on the other to keep from being washed overboard. Brother Mark Littleford lost hold and was thrown against the low iron rail. His head was cut, but the rail kept him from being washed away. Eventually, we moved ahead and, near daylight, finally pulled into the harbor at Apia. Boats were lashed to one another for safety. There were several deep at the pier. We crawled across them, trying not to disturb those sleeping on deck. We made our way to Pasanga, dried our clothing, and headed for Valiautua to organize the new stake. I do not know who had been waiting at the beach at Mulifanua. I refused to let them tell me. But it is true that without that lower light, we all might have been lost. There is in our hymn book a very old and seldom sung hymn that is very special meaning to me. Brightly beams our Father's mercy from his lighthouse evermore, but to us he gives the keeping of the lights along the shore. Let the lower lights be burning, send a gleam across the way. Some poor fainting, struggling seaman, you may rescue, you may save. Dark the night of sin is settled, loud the angry billows roar. Eager eyes are watching, longing for the lights along the shore. Trim your feeble lamp, my brother. Some poor sailor, tempest-tossed, trying now to reach the harbor, in the darkness may be lost.